Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Now I am going to be using Share Factory to edit this video, but basically I wanted to throw my hat in the ring of rewriting Suicide Squad to kill the Justice League. Now, I did mention this in an earlier video, talking about, my thoughts on the game, and I really didn't get too in-depth with, some thoughts about it and how... I talked about what the game does well, but I didn't really get to talk about, in general, I didn't get to talk about why, how I would have approached the game. So, what I aim to do with this video is basically do a full-on rewrite, and this is going to be partial improv, but also partial, going through what I know about the game and all that. Because the premise is to kill the Justice League, which the game wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that. But I want to make the game's premise more dire. Where I think the game falters is basically where... Basically, the premise itself is not the problem. It falters in execution and storytelling. So, with enough diddy-daddling, let's get that out of the way. For starters, minor spoilers for Suicide Squad as it is. There will be some things I will be keeping, obviously, some of the boss fights, but I would honestly, if I could, I would tweak the gameplay. Where I think the game really lacks. I'm not a fan of the looter-shooter and the shooting bits of the game, not a fan of that. But regardless. Now, how I would open the game compared to what we got, which was the introductory level that we got, was basically already post killing the Justice League, and you would play as the Suicide Squad, going through a dead metropolis and making their way through and meeting up, giving you basically the introductory of the gameplay, the shooting, and the new stuff, which is all well and good, but I honestly just did not like it. So I'm going to be changing it. Because after looking through certain things with Brainiac and how the whole thing with that went down, I honestly wanted to change it. Partially, we'll keep some things the same about him offering the Justice League up there as basically a way of saying, this, basically telling them, out of a truce, we're keeping that bit, but honestly, some of the stuff after that, yeah, we're not keeping it. So, what we're going to do is, the game would open up from the Justice League's perspective, or the people's perspective. So, similar to, basically similar to Batman Arkham Knight, you would open from a first-person view. You would see, basically, what is it? The Justice League parade, that whole thing. You would get, similar to the dialogue you would get through little bits and pieces from the game. And I honestly think that this time around, you would, from that perspective, you would switch and you would see, basically, it would go to Batman's perspective. Now, hold on, before anyone starts running their traps. You would honestly play as Batman doing his normal thing, but he would be in Metropolis. He would be taking down your normal criminals, so you would get a familiar of Batman's gameplay, similar to the Arkham Knight game, maybe a few extra add-ons, and you would basically get a feel for him in the game. So this will give you, it would give you a refresher with the Justice League's dialogue, maybe having the Flash or Green Lantern in their earpiece, and then you would basically switch to one of the other another Justice League member. Basically before the basically before the whole thing went down. So it would switch to each member, not each member, but to the 3 core members, and then you would basically have it to where the moment the parade is about to start, the skull ship would arrive, and then you would basically have them, you know, basically go up there. Now, after that happens, you would basically see them meet with Brainiac, and you would basically play each member again, one by one, but you would see certain members get taken out. Then, as the Flash zooms past to save Wonder Woman, and he tries to save Batman, the screen would cut to black, and you would get the intro that we got with the Suicide Squad with Amanda Waller.
Green Lantern.
Now, I would have probably added a little bit more to that, but I don't really know. I honestly think that if you play each member of the the Justice League in Brainiac's ship being taken out or trying to be taken over, and slowly sort of like trying, similar to the Batman fight in the Suicide Squad game, which both are equally good. We will be keeping that fight, but basically, you playing the Justice League and stuff like that would honestly work a lot better. Now, another thing I would honestly switch up is the whole history with Batman. Batman would be in Metropolis only to support the League. He is not. He's basically revealing that he's a member. He hasn't been like officially put there, but everybody knows Batman's identity. But at this point, I would honestly tweak this whole thing of like Superman going and doing this and blah blah blah. That whole story bit will be tweaked heavily because I didn't much care for it in the game. It just felt weird and off and dumb, so I honestly would just tweak it. Going from that to what we got works fine, because this way you get you're still going to learn the different gameplay stuff already, and I honestly think it's better to, you know, for it to be learned through the story and stuff like that. Now, in my version, I don't know if I would keep it the whole shooter angle and the looter shooter stuff. I honestly don't know how I feel about it. I will say King Shark, you know, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, and Deadshot, that whole thing is fine. I don't really care that they switched to Deadshot. Doesn't matter to me in the slightest. The first Deadshot was forgettable anyways, even though he was in the Arkham series for forever. He was still kind of forgettable. He was in, like, maybe, he was always a side mission. And in Arkham City, he was, like, very forgettable. He killed some people that Strange One had killed, and his boss fight was lame. The only time he was pretty interesting was in Arkham Origins, so I don't mind. I honestly think if I was to change up some things for the intro bit, I do think probably maybe you could start playing, you play as Batman, and then like it switches over to give you like a Justice League version of the Suicide Squad, where you would switch and play as the Flash, and he's in a certain part of the city, and he's basically taking care of some criminals. So it's kind of like takes some influence from the Marvel Spider-Man 2 Sandman fight, where Aftermath with that, where you're kind of it's in between. It kind of takes some influence from that, and you play as Wonder Woman for the last thing. Now, the reason why I chose Flash, Batman, and Wonder Woman is because gameplay-wise, Superman and Green Lantern would be too much of a hassle. I'm going to be brutally honest. And I don't think it would work. So I think on that front, you would basically run into an easier time. So now, going from where we went before, let's just say most of the intro could stay the same. It fits with the Suicide Squad and also fits with Amanda Waller to trick the squad into injecting themselves, which is something that the movies didn't even do and the comics never did, that I know of, and I honestly thought it was a unique angle to do. Now, I won't be going over the extended content because we haven't received it, but I do want to go over the main story and stuff like that. Now, from a certain point, I do think, from it cutting to the squad in the aftermath of what happened with the Justice League, I will say with the Justice League, having, immediately, basically the Flash only being able to save Wonder Woman and stuff, I think that would work, but I don't think it should just be, they go up there and immediately, I think it should be slow. I should think that when the Brainiac reveals his true intentions with the first cutscene, I do think that Superman immediately would be fighting him, so it gives the others try to fight him, but he basically, the ship forces them and locks them in a certain room or blah blah blah. So you can see a battle between, Kal-El and Brainiac through like a wall, and you basically have that, be a part of it. And you would basically see Superman being taken over, then Green Lantern, and then you would be playing as basically Batman, and the Flash is trying to find a way out, and then immediately, Batman's trying to survive, and you get a familiar, type of gameplay with him, because it's obvious, but he eventually gets taken out, and then, Flash tries to save him, but can't, and he somehow gets out of the ship. Then it cuts to a couple months later,